is Valley News Live at 4.
Developing for you this afternoon, we're still working to gather information surrounding what caused traffic on I-94 to be backed up for hours this afternoon. Our reporter on the scene witnessed a heavy police presence along I-94 at the 25th Street South exit. This video shows several officers wearing vests surrounding a couple of vehicles. Now, Highway Patrol tells us they had a trooper on a traffic stop, but ahead of them, 2 deputies with the Cass County Sheriff's Office were also involved in some kind of traffic stop. Stick with Valley News Live as we continue to learn more. A man has died after being found unconscious outside a Fargo motel last Wednesday. The victim has been identified as Eric Nurple. Police initially responded to a medical call outside Motel 6 off 13th Avenue South, but after watching surveillance video, they discovered a fight between Nurple and another man shortly before. Police are still investigating and working to get results of an autopsy to determine whether or not the altercation had anything to do with the man's death. It's a first alert weather day. Some people in Devil's Lake are already getting some rain, but storms may turn severe and affect even more of us this evening. Let's head straight to Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson with the latest. Hutch.
Thanks so much, Stacy. Taking a look at Devil's Lake right now, live from our Home of Economy view, you can see puddles actually there from rain showers that have been persistent throughout the day. Not the main event there, but we'll take the rain, right? First alert weather day today. Let me show you the absolute latest. This just issued by the National Weather Service. A watch, but we do have a slight risk of severe weather basically anywhere in our viewing area where you see the yellow there. That's western Minnesota all the way through the eastern third of North Dakota tonight. And the risks do include a very small chance that we could see an isolated tornado. But in the next few hours, large hail and then some damaging wind threat. Here's that watch just posted. You've seen it crawling across the bottom of your screen for all of eastern North Dakota, from the James River Valley and the Devil's Lake Basin to the Red River Valley until 11 o'clock tonight. We'll be watching things very closely. Make sure you download that Valley News Live weather app. We'll keep you ahead of the storms. Now, some beneficial news to the ongoing showers today. The point source, the fires that are burning off in Kenora, north of Kenora, are getting some good rainfall out there. That's going to continue tonight, and hopefully it will help extinguish some of these. These are plumes of smoke. That'll at least be some benefit for the storms along with rain. I'll have hour-by-hour details coming up here and what you can expect here in just a couple of moments. Stacy.
All right. Thanks so much, Hutch. Fire crews in Greece battling several brush fires. Take a look at this. Yesterday, smoke and flames surrounded Evea Island. Tourists are calling it apocalyptic. The fires broke out last week during Greece's worst heat wave in 3 decades. They've devastated several forests and forced thousands to evacuate. More than 600 firefighters are now working to contain the blaze. We all know that our lawns and gardens need water during the drought, but many of us forget about our trees. A forestry expert out of South Dakota says trees need about 6 inches of wet soil, but that varies on how big the tree is. The expert says a tree needs 10 gallons of water for every inch in diameter. That means a tree that's 36 inches in diameter would need 360 gallons. But you also need to remember drought restrictions in your town and water accordingly. 19-year-old Elijah Viestens has reached a plea deal in a drunk driving crash in Fargo that killed his passenger, 21-year-old Isaiah Johnson. Viestens is pleading guilty to the charge of duty to give information and aid death negligent, while all other charges are dropped. That crash happened early the morning of February 13th when Viestens crashed his car into a pole on 18th Street North and Great Northern Drive. Documents state the teen was drinking at Cactus Jack's saloon before the accident. Viestens faces up to 10 years in prison and a possible fine of up to $20,000. The teen accused of starting a 3-alarm fire downtown Fargo this spring won't spend any time behind bars. 18-year-old Riley Keeping of Fargo was originally charged with a felony count of conspiracy to commit arson for his role in the fire at Mid-America Steel, but a plea deal lowered his charge to a misdemeanor. He was sentenced to community service and probation. Crews first responded to that fire at 7:30 p.m. on March 22nd and took them until noon the next day to fully put it out. Keeping admitted going inside the building with 2 friends, both juveniles. Court documents say one of them had an app that showed abandoned places. This isn't the teen's only open criminal case. Keeping was charged with DUI last month and a felony charge of contact by bodily fluids on a healthcare worker. He'll be in court again August 26th. Predictable and preventable. Those are two words one expert witness used time and time again today, saying a downtown Fargo bar and restaurant could have stopped a fatal fight from happening outside its door 4 years ago. Today marked day 4 in the civil trial against the Hotel Donaldson after 45-year-old Jamie Grant and Christopher Sang were punched in late May of 2017 by Darren Patterson. Grant died 9 days later from his injuries, and his wife, Jennifer Grant, as well as Sang, are now suing the Hodo for more than $2 million.
Mr. Patterson was given the opportunity to do what he did by the Hodo staff. That's the bottom line. They had no tools to work with. They could have prevented this because it was preventable.
The Hotel Donaldson is expected to call an expert tomorrow morning before handing the case to the jury. Now on to that deadly plane crash in Victoria, Minnesota over the weekend. Authorities are now partially identifying the 3 people who died. Aaron Hassanzadeh spoke with the man who found pieces of that plane in his yard.
Before this 4-seater single-engine plane crashed here in Victoria.
Vroom, vroom, you know. That's what it sounded like.
Pieces of it fell off and landed in Jim Fry's lawn a few blocks away.
So I got up out of my chair and I looked around my apple tree. There's about 6 to 7 feet long wing.
That would definitely indicate that those fell off while in flight.
Without that piece of the plane, investigators say the pilot had no control over where it landed. It just so happened to end up in this vacant lot back here, but it could have been much worse. This area is right next to a highway along with a ton of businesses and homes.
That kind of shook us up. So we got lucky it didn't hit our house, you know what I mean? 3 pieces like that across. And then our neighbor, Elands, they had about 4 pieces in their driveway.
National Transportation Safety Board investigators confirm no one survived the crash. On board, Dr. James Edney, a prominent surgeon from the Omaha area. His colleagues at the University of Nebraska Medical Center referring to him as one of the top breast cancer specialists in the region. His wife tells us their son and daughter-in-law were also on board.
It was not a distress call.
But investigators say the plane was in contact with air traffic control. It was coming from Alexandria and was 10 miles away from its destination, the Flying Cloud Airport in Eden Prairie. It was cleared to land just before it went out of control.
Our only purpose here is to try to prevent another tragedy.
There's no black box in the 1992 plane, but there is engine data that investigators will look at, along with plane maintenance logs and the pilot's history and medical records. They'll also review the weather conditions from Saturday and talk to other pilots who flew in that area that day. In Victoria,
Oh, it makes you think a lot.
Aaron Hassanzadeh, WCCO 4 News.
Meanwhile, a man is dead after being hit by a car near Thief River Falls. The Minnesota State Patrol says that happened early yesterday morning on Highway 1 near 160th Avenue. Investigators say 61-year-old Edward Garza of Texas was walking in the center lane of the highway when he was struck and killed. The driver of the car has been identified as 21-year-old Tyler Brua of Thief River Falls. No word yet on whether alcohol was a factor. Authorities say the first few days of Sturgis are the busiest they've seen in years. Some 700,000 people are expected to hit the small South Dakota town this year. The Sheriff's Department says calls for service are up dramatically, and they've already issued more than 200 open container violations. The Grand Forks Police Department is warning the community of a high-risk sex offender in the city. 34-year-old Michael McGee is now living at 18 North Washington Street. He was convicted of sexual assault in 2003. Records show he went into a woman's bedroom, held her down, and sexually assaulted her. High-risk offenders are considered the most likely to reoffend. 2 men are in jail and thousands of grams of drugs are off the street following a drug bust near Walker, Minnesota. Authorities say they raided a home and found meth, marijuana, shrooms, and shroom candy bars. 2 men were then arrested. They're 42-year-old Corey White and 19-year-old DeAndre Gale, both from Walker. They're facing a range of charges, including controlled substance sales and child endangerment. Police also seized money, guns, and ammunition. An alarming new surge in COVID cases is overwhelming many hospitals in the South, and the debate over whether students should wear masks in the classroom is taking center stage throughout the country. Deborah Alfarone reports from the White House.
When it comes to encouraging young people to get vaccinated, Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff and Education Secretary Miguel Cardona are helping to lead the charge. Monday, they toured a vaccine clinic at Topeka High School in Kansas.
Look, just get the vaccination. Help yourself, help others, and move on so we can get back to the lives that we want to get back to.
The National Institutes of Health says more than 1,400 kids across the country are now hospitalized with COVID, the highest number ever recorded.
You are all playing such an important role in this fight.
President Biden's top medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says schools need to require masks in the fall, but local and state officials remain divided.
For the government to mask children to have who have no choice is the wrong thing to do.
President Biden says he strongly supports Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's plan to make the COVID-19 vaccine mandatory for all active military troops by the fall or sooner if approved by the FDA. In a memo to DoD employees, Defense Secretary Austin wrote in part, "To defend this nation, we need a healthy and ready force. I strongly encourage all DoD military and civilian personnel, as well as contractor personnel, to get vaccinated now." In Louisiana, COVID hospitalizations are at an all-time high. At Baton Rouge General Hospital, almost all of the COVID patients are unvaccinated, like 61-year-old Douglas Allen.
You can't move because you don't have the strength.
The CDC says about 61% of U.S. adults are fully vaccinated. The Biden administration expects the vaccines to be fully approved by the FDA this month. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
Now, over the weekend, the president of the second largest teachers union changed her mind and now supports mandatory vaccinations for teachers to help protect kids who are too young to get vaccinated. Area veterans are now fighting the war on hunger, and they need your help. Veterans in the metro are collecting food for the Great Plains Food Bank. You can donate at the Fargo VFW, West Fargo VFW, and AmVets Club. Donations will be accepted until August 21st. For more information, find this story on the free VNL News app. Coming up, we head to the hometown of Suni Lee, where a large crowd showed up for the Olympians' homecoming.
Sizzling weather here in the Southern Valley. Rain showers keeping things cooler up north. There is thunderstorm development beginning to take place. This is just garden variety showers now. We have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 11. I'll have the latest and what you can expect next.